Beast Wars Episode 9, A Better Moustrap. Now, coming off of the last episode and kind of in my last review, I mentioned that Rattrap's sort of thing is that he tends to get kind of out of weird situations inside of bases. And the reason I really said that was because not only did he do that in the last episode where he was inside the Predacon base and he got like the little chip and stuff, but he does that in this episode. Like, that's the whole point of his storyline, at least within the episode, because Rhinox sets up this thing called Sentinel, which is meant to be like their new grand defense system against the Predacons when they show up to base. And because Dinobot didn't believe in the measures they were taking, which were non-lethal, he was a little mad, and Rattrap decided, oh, you don't think non-lethal's good enough, and he turns the Sentinel on him, and it basically shoots out like these laser ropes that, you know, keep people tied up. So he was super mad about that, and Dinobot was actually right, because he hulked out of that thing and he got super pissed off at Rattrap, and he was like ran at him with his blade, and so Rattrap pushes Rhinox out of the way, and then he dodges, and Dinobot ends up stabbing the console, and it sets Sentinel off against all of the Maximals in the base, which I believe Optimus and Cheetor were gone because they were off to do another mission, and so the three of them were still in base, and it's like, crap, we're screwed because he stabbed the thing, and Rhinox wasn't able to set up the friend or foe program where it could be voice activated just yet. So it went off, and it's like shooting lasers at them and stuff, and so they escape, and Rattrap is like, you know, I'm the one who screwed up because I messed with Dinobot, so I got to be the one to fix it. And it was funny after he said that, he was like, man, I'm starting to sound like you know, Optimus Prime, or Optimus Prime. He didn't say that. He said some silly name. But he's, you know, he was like, I'm starting to sound like Optimus. So I thought it was kind of funny. But they escape. Optimus and Cheetor end up coming back to the base after they find out that things have gotten a little bit weird, and Sentinel's been activated. So it's like, okay, you know, what the heck is happening? And it's like, well, Sentinel activated because Rattrap did his little scheme, and it set everything off. So he goes back to the base, and I believe Cheetor may have actually already been with them. Optimus, I believe, was on his own with Tigatron. So he left Tigatron because they were trying to follow, it may have been, I believe it was Waspinator that they were following. And they lost him because Waspinator, Black Arachnia, Tarantulas, and I believe it may have just been Waspinator, Black Arachnia, and Scorponok. I'm always trying to figure out how many of the characters are always in one scene, because it's only a couple, so I always feel like everyone's just always in one scene together. But they're trying to follow them, and they have their own little thing going. But Rattrap's thing is like, okay, well, I'm inside the base, I have to survive because all of these defenses were going off, and he's like, you know, that's kind of my specialty, is to get through defense grids. And he'd be like, oh, that's easy. And then something else crazy would happen. And they had a little scene, a really silly scene, where it was like the first big defense was like some sort of liquid that would stop people from, it would basically keep you moving. So you would, it was either you kept moving or you freeze. It was called like no friction something. So I figured that it had to be, you can't get any friction. So if you land on it, you're just stuck on the ground. Like, you can't get up because there's no friction to catch yourself and move. So he's like, oh, that's child's play. So he broke off like this little piece of a thing, and he starts surfing on it, and he like hops over like this little wire net and stuff, and they had a little silly scene. And then he's crawling through the vent, and they have like this super weird, I don't know why they had this scene, but he took like the ittiest, tiniest little jump from the vent to a ladder, and they did it in slow motion, but he was like a foot away. Even in rat form, I'm like, that's not that big of a leap. But they did it in slow motion for like a split second, and then he caught it. I was like, I don't know why that was in slow motion, but okay, we'll just go with that was 90s. But he's, you know, getting through the base and everything, and then it gets really crazy because the Predacons who escaped from Optimus, Tigatron was looking for him. It's like, all right, well, they were in this area. Optimus, you go ahead and go back to the ship. I'll do my thing, and I'll find out where Waspinator is because I have his scent. So he finds out that the reason Optimus lost Waspinator was because they had like a holo projector that made it seem like there was a face of a rock, and so that's why Optimus, like, he went around a corner to get Waspinator, and he thought he was about to hit a wall, and he like flew straight up to get out of it. So, you know, Tigatron ends up finding them, and he goes in, and they have this big bomb set up, and their whole plan was to basically set off this bomb and destroy the base and like kill them from underneath. And so Tigatron goes in there, and he's kind of whooping butt. Like, he went in there and took them out. He got the bomb, and they're chasing after him to get it back. And then Black Arachne is like, you know, if that blows up, you'll just die anyway. It'll kill all of us. And he's like, oh, if it'll blow me up, then let me, you know, return it to you. And so he throws it and spikes it into the ground. So the three Predacons take off, and he takes off too. And this huge explosion goes off, and all the Maximals are basically just standing in front of the ship like, man, I hope Rattrap makes it. And it's just quiet, and it just shows them, they're like facing the camera, and this huge explosion just goes off, and they all just like collapse to the ground because a giant explosion came out of nowhere. And then Tigatron comes up. It's like, yeah, it was a crazy long story, and it was like, you know, he basically did his own thing, and that's kind of his thing. Because when Optimus left, he was like, I'll send Cheetor to back you up, and he's like, I work better by myself, so you just go ahead. And he totally took care of it. He, you know, he got the bomb from him, and then he just spiked it into the ground when Black Arachne was like, it'll blow you up anyway. And he survived. Of course, all the Predacons escaped and went back. And he just comes out of the rubble, and everything's fine. And then they go through the whole thing. Rattrap actually does end up escaping, but the way they have the scene is he gets pinned down, and there's like the final laser is on him because it missed him before, but it hit some debris that fell on him, and he's trying to reach the button, and it's like counting down to termination for whatever reason, and it cuts to the other Maximals, and the shield goes down, and it's like the only, you know, Rhinox isn't happy. He says like the only reason that the shields would go down would be if there were no more threats, which means that it would have to have neutralized the threat, being Rattrap. So they have like this mini memorial super quick where they're all really sad because they think he died, and it's like, you know, basically they do like the really touching moment, but they say a bunch of like, it's almost backhanded stuff where it's like, yeah, he was a rat and he stunk and he was basically an a-hole, but I really cared for him. And Rhinox is like, you know, he was difficult, nearly impossible to deal with, but he was my best friend. And they have, you know, and Dinobot was the funniest because he's like, I won't sully his memory with lies, and he was like, he just like trashed him in the beginning, and then it basically ended like, but he had honor and I respected him, and that's pretty much how it ended. And it was just funny. I was like, that was cool. He was like, I won't dishonor his memory with lies, and he was spiteful and annoying and this and that, but he was honorable and he will always be remembered. And he was like, I'll remember him in my own weird, fun sort of way. And they have it where it's like, it looks like it's about to do like a close where it's closing into darkness, and then it freezes, and then it opens back up, and Rattrap's coming down the thing like, oh, stop it. And he acts like he's crying, like, you guys are just tearing me up. So it was a super, super campy ending because I knew it was going to be that way, but I still enjoyed it. And Dinobot just made it actually really funny where he was just like, he sucked, and he sucked, and he sucked, but I'll remember him a little bit. And I was like, that actually made all this campiness worth it because of the way they had Dinobot do it. I actually loved it a lot, even though I knew it was going to be like super duper campy. But definitely an enjoyable episode with Rattrap going through the whole thing and surviving all sorts of stuff. And he's, you know, he's like, oh, this is easy. He destroys like a gun, and then Sentinel's like, oh, measures need to be amped up because he destroyed one gun and they like popped 3 out on him. He's like, oh crap, and he got shot. And then he had to like maximize because he was using like this shaft, and this is where they did the weird slow motion ladder thing. And there was like a dampening field coming up to him, and then the guns were on top of him. And so when it was one gun, he's like, oh, I'll just shoot that and climb up the ladder. And then the other 3 came out and blasted him, and he had to maximize inside and like slow himself down by pushing on the walls. And then he had to like dive into a thing as the dampening field like came up. So he had some cool moments where he was dodging a bunch of stuff and, you know, making his way through. But it was definitely a cool episode, really awesome, because this was Tigatron's like first big action episode where he was really, you know, he had quite a few lines, and he was with Optimus when he was chasing Waspinator, and Optimus was flying while he was in the jungle like running along the ground so he couldn't be seen. So it was cool. He had a good focus in this episode. It was really, as far as the Maximals go, it was definitely Tigatron and Rattrap that had the focus. And that was cool. I enjoyed getting to see Tigatron beat up on the people. Love the dude's voice. I don't know who the voice actor is for Tigatron, but he's got like a great deep voice, and I just like the way they do it. And the way he talks, it's very plain, so it's not like me right now, like being amped up and stuff like that. It's just super plain and calm, and it's kind of a deep voice. And I was like, I kind of like how they have this character, and the voice totally fits the character. And I understand why they picked that person, because he's a very calm character, and so it's kind of like a Darth Vader thing where it's never really loud or anything. It's just a calm character with a deep, calm voice, but he can say some stuff in that deep, calm voice, and it sounds super menacing, even though he's technically calm. It's just the voice itself can be a little scary. I was like, I actually like that about his character, and I realized that he's in a couple other episodes in the disc. Um, excuse me, and I just noticed, I was like, man, I really like the voice that they chose for him. I like all the voices in this. I think they're really good. I remember, I don't think I actually mentioned this, but when I was first watching this, I thought for sure the dude that was playing Optimus was Tex Avery, Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince, and he did voice acting. He was Shredder in the '80s Ninja Turtle cartoon, and I was like, that's not that crazy of a stretch. If he did it back then, why wouldn't he be Optimus? Because the guy sounds so much like him to me, but it's not him. It's like Gary Chalk, I believe, is the voice actor's name for Optimus. But I'm like, every certain lines he'll say, I'm like, man, he sounds just like him. And it was so weird. I was like, this sounds like it's, you know, Uncle Phil. It was really weird. I was like, it totally sounds like him in certain lines, but it's not him. But I like the voice acting. This is, like I said, a fun episode. Really cool to see Tigatron get a focus in it. Rattrap just doing his thing. Getting focused like he did in the last one. We were in sort of a half and half story, but half of it was Rattrap being in the base and facing the odds. So it was still really cool again. And this was really him. It really made me think of Toonami, by the way. For anyone who may have seen the Intruder stuff that they did, and they did a second one more recently, but they did some stuff with Toonami where the ship was taken over and Tom had to survive and stuff. And I was like, man, this makes me think of Toonami. And as soon as I thought of the Toonami thing, that's when like the stuff came out and it looked like it was just liquid taking over the ground. I was like, holy crap, did Toonami steal that idea from this? And it was really funny, but I really like this episode. It was a really cool one. Of course, if you guys have any comments, I would love to know them, so you can please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thank you guys for watching.